Hello, thanks for tuning in. The Copernicus revolution, let's start there. There was a time when we believed that the sun revolved around the earth, that we were the center of the universe, the solar system, and everything revolved around us. Along comes Copernicus and he changes that paradigm, changed astronomy forever, in the realization that it is we revolve around the sun. It's not the sun revolves around us, we revolve around the sun. We moved from a geocentric solar system to a heliocentric solar system, and like I said, astronomy was changed forever. Immanuel Kant, the great philosopher, drew a parallel with the Copernicus revolution, calling it the second Copernicus revolution because he put the mind back at the center of the universe. Let me explain. There was a time when many philosophers believed the mind was a tabula rasa, a clean slate. And when we are born, the world, we experience the world, and the experience of the world furnishes our minds with ideas of what the world is. That was a clean slate, and the world would impress on it. For example, when you pick up an apple, you taste the apple, you could feel the apple, you can smell the apple, you can break the apple up, and this experience of the apple would impress and furnish the mind with ideas about the apple and so on. But Kant changed that way of understanding. It completely changed the paradigm. The mind, it's not that the object corresponds to the mind, it's all about how the mind corresponds with reality. And the mind has a set of a priori modes. I'm always talking about this, and Kant was all about the categories of the mind too, and about how the mind, how the subject met the object. Okay, how the subjects, for example, you can't have an experience unless you have the a priori ability to analyze the experience. And when we pick up an apple, we extend and expand into the apple. We can understand the apple with precision and consistency. We understand it as a composition of parts, as a configuration, and so on. We know how to distinguish and categorize. We know the difference of from apple from giraffe. Okay, we can distinguish and categorize. And without these modes of the mind, we couldn't enter the world of experience. But Kant was of the opinion that we could not ever know there was two way, the phenomenal world, the world in front of us, the apple and how we taste it and so on, the world, the reality we experience every day, and then there's the nominal world, which is the world, the metaphysical world, the thing in itself. And Kant believed that we couldn't separate, we could never know the thing in itself, we could never know the real world because we cannot separate the subject from the object, okay? We cannot separate the subject. We never can truly know what the object is of itself, of its own accord. We can only know it through how we enter it, how the apparatus, the a priori apparatus of mind enters reality and comes to terms with what it believes it sees. But I'm going to draw a parallel with the same thing, and I believe, just for use my own angle here, the third Copernicus revolution. I'm putting the mind itself at the center of the universe as the thing in itself, as the world of the nominal world. Yeah, I believe the mind itself to be the God eye, and I've spoken about this, all the time. I'm always waxing lyrical about this, but most people think they have arms and legs. This, what's a human? I have arms and legs and nose and eyes and ears, and I can hear and dance and taste and smell and talk and so on. But I believe I'm a systemic lens, and instead of having arms and legs, I have modes. I have the mode of identification and the unification and categorization and evaluation and so on. And these modes allow me to enter every field, whether it's the apple, I identify the apple, I try to unify what the apple is, I try to unify all perspectives in the world of phenomenon. I believe this I is the God eye. And this I cannot isolate man. This I cannot find a first order predicate for man, so it cannot premise man. So man is not part of the equation. Now something about us knows this to be the case. Something about us knows this to be the case. So I believe this is the third Copernicus revolution, that we are not just putting the mind at the center of the universe, but rather the mind itself is all there is, and that itself is the thing in itself. Now, we cannot know the world of reality, as Kant said, because we cannot separate the subject from the object. But this is not separating the subject from the object. This is just looking at the subject, as a constellation set of modes unto itself. Okay, as a constellation, when you consider all the modes I've been waxing lyrical about over the last few years, and when you consider them as a skeleton construct, as a concatenation of modes brought together, brought together so you can consider them as their own constellation set, as I said, a set unto themselves, and you can see the set. We can talk about the set without talking about the object. It's almost this is the a priori set, is the object in itself. Anyway, so yeah, I hope you can get something from that. That's what I'm about, the third Copernicus revolution. And also too, just on a quick note, Jordan Peterson, I'm a big fan. Peterson's a beautiful human being. Obviously, he makes a few blunders here and there, who doesn't? But you know, he's always talking about God and the way we live our lives and the value hierarchies and how we're orientated in the world. And if you orientate yourself the right way and use the right moral compass, well, there's a sense of holiness and righteousness in that, and there's a feeling of God in that. But I'm not talking about that. I'm actually talking about God. I'm trying to isolate a skeleton structure of mode and say this is the God I itself. People often talk about, you know, they've had premonitions, revelations, and they found God in their lives. Like somebody might be in a bad way because they've lost a parent, and that parent might have always been into, say, butterflies, and one day a butterfly lands on their finger and it's their mum or dad's favorite butterfly, and in that moment they believe, you know, something from the other world has touched them and they suddenly find God. Okay, well, I don't believe I found God that way. I actually didn't go looking for God. I went looking for the system of the mind, and in it I found God. Okay, so like I said, I believe that this systemic lens is the God I, and that is putting God at the center of the universe. So yes, hope that makes sense. Anyway, please share, and I'm trying to get my work out there. And if you have any questions, please just go to the inbox and ask a few questions. So yeah, peace and love and logic.